So Trump is at it again, appeasing Russia. This seems to be a default position for him. It's all he ever does when it comes to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And let's not forget, it's Russia that invaded Ukraine. He seems to periodically forget this. And so what's been happening is that he's actually been engaged in secret conversations between the US and Russia about what to do about this war. This conversation excluded Ukraine and excluded also all of the European Western allies. And why did they exclude them? Because every time the European allies join, they start talking sense. They start talking about this from the perspective of understanding who is the aggressor and who needs to start to give up things in order to achieve peace. Because of course Russia could step back and enable peace at any day, any moment. All they have to do is get off Ukrainian land. All they have to do is stop firing on Ukrainian cities. All they have to do is stop bombing Kiev and killing thousands of innocent people. But of course, Trump doesn't care about that. He wants to keep trying to earn a notch on the Nobel Prize Committee's score sheet. So he sent his best mate, Steve Witkoff, over there to negotiate with Russian diplomats. And what it appears that they have come up with is as absurd as anything could ever be when it comes to this conflict. It's exactly everything that Russia wants. First of all, they say that Ukraine should withdraw, Ukraine should fall back and give Russia more territory, believe it or not. So this is a country that's been invaded by another country, and they're saying the country that's been invaded needs to fall back even further and allow the aggressor to take more territory. So that's the first point in this so-called peace plan. So Ukraine needs to cede more ground to Russia. Remember that Russia has been stuck around this level on the front lines for months, even sort of over a year now. They haven't really been able to go past the sort of level where they're at, down sort of a line down the east of Ukraine. And why is that? Because there's strong fortifications. There's some major cities there, which Russia would love to get its hands on, and it's been completely incapable of doing, despite expending literally millions of men. They've been dying on the front line from Russia in order to try to get this territory in the east, which Ukraine have been stalwartly defending because it's actually very well positioned and well resourced. So the first part of the peace plan is for Ukraine to put its hands up and just say, okay, you can have all of these cities, you can have all of this territory in the east. That's the first part of the peace plan. The second part of the peace plan is for Ukraine to disarm itself. Half of its military needs to be disappeared, basically. So a whole list of major weaponry that Ukraine now has, that it makes, that it's got from European allies, it wants Ukraine to give up all of those. So not only do we want you to give up a whole lot of territory, we also want you to give up your means of defending yourself against the Russians once they've gone past that big bulwark and they're now able to go into the rest of Ukraine. So, pull back on your own actual defences. Now, of course, as soon as this information came out, the European leadership were very clear. This is not a peace negotiation. First of all, a peace negotiation has to take part with both sides of the table. Secondly, a peace negotiation never involves appeasing the aggressor. Because if you appease the aggressor and give them what they want, they will always end up getting what they ultimately want. And what Russia ultimately wants, what Putin ultimately went in this for in the first place, was to take over the whole of Ukraine. And this peace plan is all about that. It basically creates the conditions where Russia can very easily then march through the rest of the Ukraine and take the rest of the country over. And that is never how you negotiate a peace deal like that, appeasing the aggressor. It would be like after World War II, the Allies agreeing that Germany could then take on half of Russia, could actually take on, keep the rest of France, and then go into the UK as well. Germany can have all of that territory, and also all of the Allies, the US, Britain, etc., would have to de-arm and reduce their own armed forces, while Germany keeps all of theirs. That would be the equivalent. Okay, which would of course result in the Nazis taking over the whole of Europe very shortly afterwards. So this is exactly the analogy that we're talking about when we talk about this so-called peace plan that Putin and Trump are secretly negotiating with their intermediaries. So the EU have clearly said, and their foreign affairs leader has said, that this is not acceptable. appeasing Russia in this way is not in anybody's interest. And it's certainly not in the interest of the whole of Europe, because we all know that if Ukraine fell, which is what this peace plan will enable, then they won't stop there. Russia has already been saying that they will go into other countries in the Baltic states after this. So it doesn't help anybody, this peace plan. And Zelensky and his government have also issued statements saying that none of this is an actual plan. When there's an actual plan for peace, which involves the aggressor actually being asked to give something, then there is something for us to talk about. Because remember, Russia is the aggressor, and in order for this to work, they have to give something up. It's very easy to negotiate a peace plan with somebody that involves them giving nothing up and in actual fact getting more as a result. Right? That's an easy conversation to have. Any idiot could have that conversation, but it's not reality, is it? So if America is, and the Trump administration is serious about peace, they have to challenge Putin and say to them, listen, what are you going to give up? What territory are you going to give back to Ukraine? What assurances are you going to give to Ukraine that you won't invade? What armed forces are you going to allow to go into Ukraine in order to give them assurances that you're not going to go in there? Not only is it a case of allowing Ukraine to retain its military, it's also a case of making sure that the other countries in Europe are able to put their military in there too, to give Ukraine the assurance that they're not going to be reinvaded by Russia. That's the only way a peace deal works at all. And what do the US do? What does Trump do? He ignores all of that. He forgets about all of the needs and demands of Ukraine, the victim in this conflict, and just asks Russia, what do you want us to do for you? It goes back to the central question that has dogged Trump since the beginning of his entry into politics. What is it that Russia has over him? Why is he a servant to the Russian state? He's proved it time and time again, and he's proving it again now. Trump's only perspective when it comes to Russia is doing their bidding. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. And he's willing to throw the whole of Europe, Ukraine as well as the whole of Europe, under the bus to perform that task, which seems to be at the center of his administration from day one. I hope you like my video. As a psychiatrist who loves politics and economics and philosophy, I love to make videos like this, and you can really help promote this video to other people and get it on your feed more by liking and commenting and subscribing to the video as well. We have a wonderful community of people here who comment and support each other through this very traumatic period of world history that we're going through right now. I also hope you consider becoming a subscriber to the channel and also subscribing to my e-newsletter. There's a link in the description, and that way we can stay in touch outside the channel, so you can keep abreast of all of the content that I'm making on an ongoing basis. The latest of which actually is my latest book called We the People. Very, very proud of this book. It's actually a novel, a fiction book written by myself and the famous award-winning author T.J. McGregor. Together we wrote a book about what the future might look like. Bit of a dystopian novel, but what might happen if autocracy goes to its next stage, AI predicting the potential end of humanity. I actually made a video about that, it really happened. And how things might pan out in this dystopian world, and actually how a band of committed, passionate, progressive people managed to change the trajectory, and not in the way that you think. It's not just by running a candidate and opposing the autocrat, but actually by deepening the democracy that we have and engaging in a real participatory form of democracy that sort of shifts the needle and gets us back to basics and helps us sort of rebuild our democracy. And that's within the context of a really compelling, gripping story, a bunch of fascinating characters, and I assure you, you will not be able to sort of stop turning the page until you get to the end of the book. That's what all the reviewers have said so far. Lots of people love it, and I hope you can get it. You can get it on Amazon, any of the global Amazon bookstores out there. Please do order your copy of We the People. Just put We the People Russell Razak and you'll be able to find it inside Amazon as well. Also, I hope you consider becoming a member of the channel. You can subscribe to a couple of different membership levels. All members of the channel also get some free ebooks that I produce once a month. You can buy those ebooks too from russellsbooks.com. That's russellsbooks.com, and every month I produce a new ebook on that channel, which is really about, these are the non-fiction books I produce with my team, which is really about how to learn about the world around us and the psychologies of the people who govern us, but also how to learn about ourselves, deepen our own self-awareness in a way that helps us navigate this difficult world we're in right now. So those are sort of self-help books that are produced every month, and if you're a member of the channel, you get a sort of 100% discount on those books every month. Otherwise, you can go to russellsbooks.com, as I say, and buy them anytime you like. I really hope you can become a part of this community, as I say. So this sort of supportive community, validating and helping each other, is really worth being a part of, and I hope you can join us as we all join forces to create a better tomorrow together. Thank you.